But Silco is the one that actually I feel like is the most accepting and understanding. Right? Like in a weird way, it's like, yo, Silco's like kind of dad of the year, I guess. But like,
What the? What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Niisan podcast. I am Josh L. Kilm, one of your hosts.
And I'm Crim, also known as the Asian Avenger.
And today we have something very exciting. We are closing the arc of season 1 of Arcane, which is Riot's new animated series about some characters from League of Legends. And
yes, it is.
This is it. This is the final arc now of this season, episodes 7, 8, and 9. And it's been wonderful. It's been amazing. And I'm so excited to talk about this. It has been the thing I look forward to for every Saturday since. And
yeah,
I'm just so sad that it's over. So
yeah, I mean, it's been really good. It's been a surprise for me as someone who didn't care about really a lot of the stuff that went on in the world. And now I'm, Riot Boy 1, that's my username. So Riot Boy 1.
Yeah.
But like legitimately, I kind of just am excited to see how much, like when we talk about this, see how much it lines up, because the last episode, this is, if you haven't seen it yet, go back, check it out. We did a reaction to, the first 3 episodes and then the second 3 episodes. But after the last episode, we were talking about just how do they close this show? How do they tie everything together and and see where it goes? And can they do it all? So I'm really excited to see if we can, once we talk about it, see how it unfolds.
Yeah. And I guess, news segment, because this week we have a double whammy episode. So we kind of already talked about some news that happened recently in our world. However, the one that we omitted specifically for this episode is that Arcane Season 2 has been announced and is in production. Now, they did also confirm that we're not getting Season 2 in 2022.
Oh, wait, why would you tell me that?
I'm so sorry. I mean,
I didn't know that. I knew that we got a Season 2, and that left me okay, optimistic about when we would get it. But wait, really?
Not until at least 2023.
You know what? Okay, I'll give them a pass, because this first season so far up to episode 6 has been good enough. So, and episode 7, 8, 9. Pretty solid. So, you know what? Okay. I'll give them that. Give them that.
The other thing to note is that Arcane has been in the works for 6 years.
So they'll have to do next season in 2 years?
Theoretically. Well, just remember though, the 6 years isn't how once they got a script finished in production, that's the whole shebang, how they got the story to come together and all this stuff. Arcane has been in the works for a long time. And so I think from here on out, they know the art style. They know what they want to do. I hope. We just get to, get some more stuff in. So on one hand, I'm sad, but on the other hand, I'm glad that they're also taking time too. So
yeah,
it's a hard balance, I think.
With how beautifully done this whole show is, I would rather them just take the time they need to make the show that we want.
Yeah. So with
Sincerely,
that said,
Riot Boy 1.
With that said, let's get into it. Part 3 of Arcane, episode 7. This is the start of the end, and we get to see a little. So right at the end of episode 6, we have the sort of clash that happens between the flying green guys, the green goblins.
Yeah, the hobgoblins and green goblins.
With Vi, Caitlyn, and Jinx. And we wake up to Vi and Caitlyn, who have been, kidnapped and whatnot. And wow, what a surprise. It was Echo. Wow, no one saw that coming.
I didn't see that coming.
Wait, really?
Because okay. I knew that I legitimately did not think Echo was going to appear.
Oh, okay.
I legitimately did not think Echo was going to appear.
I'm sure it's Echo.
Right. I didn't even think of it. Oh my God. See, oh my God. I remember when it was when we were watching it, you were like, oh, what a surprise. I'm like, I was actually surprised. Hold on. because I kind of forgot about him, to be honest with you. Because when they showed the group of kids at the beginning of the show, he kind of just slipped my mind. He didn't do anything. He was always the one that faltered and hid in a lot of the situations. So to me, I just always kind of push him in the back of my mind. I almost kind of forgot he was a character.
It's funny because for me, he was so memorable, because as a big Echo fan, and to see him in his child form, I was just like, oh, this little Echo! I'm so excited.
Oh, see, I didn't even know Echo was a character.
Yeah, he's
right?
a character.
Like, so.
Yeah. He's a mid-lane assassin, and so seeing him at like child form was great. And so then his return to me was like, oh, okay. So that's funny, like difference between League player and non-League player. But updated Echo was. He's dope. He's so cool.
Yeah, I couldn't get the idea though that he was just Hobgoblin, just like riding around on the snowboard. And like Spider-Man 3 is not something I want to think about when I watch anything, right? But at the same time, yeah, obviously it was so much cooler.
Yeah.
They did a really cool job reintroducing him, and most importantly, I was really excited to see Vi like kind of reunited. Right,
dude,
like,
that moment when she hugs him and there's just like one tear that runs. I was like, oh,
yeah,
oh,
that was a very good, heartfelt moment.
Because Echo's like trying to be all like big bossy, and he's being like kind of a dick to Vi, and like I couldn't trust you, man.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know where you were. You died.
Yeah.
Are you working for Silco? Like he's like being all tough guy on her,
Right.
and then she's just like, I remember when you used to not stand up to me and
Yeah.
hug him. And I was like, oh.
I thought that was so cute.
Yeah,
that was so cute.
It was such a good reunion.
And it was perfect because, yeah, like he had been weak almost all his childhood. So to see him finally stand up for himself and for me to also remember that he's that weak kid.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So that was a really fun scene.
And we got to see how much he's grown, right? Like he shows Vi this whole like sanctuary that he's built for all the people who have felt Silco's, evil, I guess, spread through the lanes, and
he's
helped
essentially just a community, right? A whole community of people, and like that he's kind of just in charge of or a part of.
Yeah,
and like it's just so cool to see Echo there.
Yeah. Speaking of Silco, one of the coolest scenes I thought Silco, like one of the most like epic and most iconic scenes for Silco happens when a bunch of the Chem Barons come up and they force a meeting with Silco, and they're upset because Silco
Body's gone soft.
Yeah, it's like he suddenly Jinx is causing all this havoc, and like there's less profits now because Silco's off doing his weird thing, and then Silco reminds them where they came from, and I love the scene so much because he like basically takes mustard gas and just lets it loose in the thing, and he's watching them all struggle to breathe as he's slowly distributing masks to them, being like, this is how we used to live. We used to live with this gas in our lungs where we would gasp for fresh air, and you see all of them just like struggling. And Silco is just badass without a mask, just like walking through without
just breathing it.
Yeah,
right?
and he's like, this is what I grew up in. You guys are the soft ones here.
Right. That scene established how badass Silco was.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we kind of already got a vibe for that, but like that really was badass. He didn't even have to actually beat anybody up. He just let them know, like, yo, you need a mask. I don't. And so, like, I could not that was just such a cool scene to me.
Yeah. I thought it just nailed in Silco's sort of personality perfectly, and sort of him showing off what it means to be the old guard when things were truly the baddest they've been.
Yeah. And
how much things have transformed now. And like, I just think, yeah, Silco, and even the way he leaves too, with like he lets Finn, like choking on the ground, and he just like
takes a quick hit,
one hit, and then just drops it on him. I was like, oh my god, this guy is such a badass. Like he is the villain that Vicious from the Cowboy live action wants to be, and it's Silco is just such a badass without ever having to lift a finger,
Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing. He was just a mastermind to me. Like he didn't have to like have this overbearing amount of like brute force or anything like that. He was just smart.
He's just smart.
Knows
what he wants.
Yeah.
And a couple of cool scenes happened in episode 7. I thought one of the scenes that stood out a ton was the Firefly explosions.
That was huge.
Yeah. So
that was sick.
Basically, Jinx, Caitlyn, Vi, Caitlyn, and Echo are going back up topside to deliver the thing and to, figure out what to do. and they get accosted by Marcus and his enforcer buddies.
Right.
And Jinx sort of bails them out, kind of.
in the most Jinx way that she does. Yeah, she bails them out.
Yeah, and you just see all the fire. You see one of the fireflies land on the barrel of the gun, and you see, oh, it's actually not a firefly.
Yeah, the wings open, and you see like Jinx's little like skull bomb logo or whatever it is, right? Like that.
Yeah.
But everything before that also added to it, right? Because it was like before the butterfly even landed, there was like that swarm of like green neon lights. It's like, oh wait, what is this? It's like I see from somebody that didn't know League, I was like, oh, is there a character that just like is a bunch of like flies and eventually they just become a human? Like all the flies get together and is it a human now or something like that? No, it was just it was all Jinx's stuff, and then it blew up on all their faces.
Yeah,
and had a huge explosion at the bridge, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it was just like the ingenuity of Jinx at work again here, and it's so cool.
I loved seeing what she can build.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that was just like, so episode 7 had already started off with so much, well, I guess fireworks. And I just couldn't believe like there's even more to it, right? Mm-hmm. Because then afterwards, right, then we get that super duper awesome Echo and Jinx fight.
Yeah.
Which I think might be the coolest thing that happens this whole episode. Stylistically, at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I love this the slow-mo and like the weird, kind of like Spider into the Spider-Verse animation style.
Yeah,
right there.
Very painted looking versus the CG stuff. Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah.
But then there was the only issue I had with this episode, which also is the same issue I've had with a lot of Arcane so far, is poorly placed music, right?
Yeah.
Now, the song that plays initially when the bomb and or like when the fight happens, the hip hop track, I like that. I thought that was really good. But then it went from that hip hop track to immediately this slow orchestrated sulking style, like sad melancholic sound, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there had maybe only been like 10 seconds in between the two songs.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of that, they both kind of like lessen each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of weird to hear that. I don't know why. In Arcane, the music has really been struggling. Either it's poorly placed or it's not fit, like it's not in the right spot. What I thought was going to happen was that hip hop track was going to just keep going into the part where there would normally be a melancholy kind of sad song. And then it would just kind of slowly fade out with just the sounds of Echo and like Jinx maybe like punching each other. You hear their armor clanking against each other, and then maybe like the click of the bomb, right? But like they shifted the music and it just kind of felt weird. It just like threw off the whole mood there for me a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so similarly, I have some issues with the music. We've talked about this in previous episodes, and my problem there was like the sequence for that like upbeat track was so short, and it didn't I liked how it entered in. It was like with the stopwatch thing, and it starts off, and you're like, okay, here we go.
It was synchronized,
and
right?
Like we're building up, building up, and there's that whole sequence that happens, and then it cuts to the actual fight, and it just, like that whole energy that like was built up from the music just kind of disappears. And I kind of understand what they were going for, because like at the end of the fight, you see that moment where Jinx and Vi I keep telling you, Jinx and Echo are looking at each other in the eyes, and you can kind of see that like little bit of connection. But like, I wish they had like slowly peeled into that rather than so jarringly stopping the music, letting it play out, and then like a new track or whatever. Like the music can feel really jarring at times, I think, in Arcane, and it's kind of a shame. Honestly, like they just stand out, like a couple of those moments.
It just kind of like, because like a poorly placed song can ruin a moment, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like also just as much as that, like what's the point of having the song in there if it's only gonna be there for like 5 seconds?
Yeah,
right. Like the lasting effects of that pump up should have stayed. They could have extended the fight maybe a little bit longer,
or if they wanted to, they could have also kept it melancholic. I mean, because it's a sad moment, like that. The whole like painted scene is a flashback to when they used to play as kids. And that's a sad thing, right?
Right.
And so they could have maybe just like made this fight like a really sad moment of like two childhood friends who are now fighting to the like that's a sad thing, but they chose to go with like an upbeat thing to like build up the hype of this fight,
Right.
And then to destroy it so quickly felt really weird. That felt like a weird choice to me.
Exactly. So like that was once again just another moment where I think the scene was good, but just Riot, I don't know why. Your music is like weirdly placed. So
yeah. Speaking of other like relationship stuff that happens in this episode too, like I really liked seeing Jace. So Victor had gone and seen Singed, and they figure out some stuff. He gets some of that grape juice.
Is it so like it's shimmer, but it's not like shimmer, or
it's modified shimmer essentially? Basically, Singed gives him it, saying that like this isn't shimmer. It has properties like shimmer. It'll help you transform. Because like there's that quote, he says like, oh, like nature is resistant to change. However, we have the ability to change our nature. And that is what that shimmer was. And so
that's a pretty cool line, by the way.
It is a very
cool
line.
Pretty cool line.
Everybody loves those like flipped quotes, you know, where you start out with one and then you flip it. Everyone,
how the turns have tabled.
Yeah, that's
like
that's
that
a
one,
good
right?
example.
Like,
Yeah. And so, anyways, Victor's coming back and he gets accosted by Jace, and Jace is like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, what's happening? Like, don't you know those guys are dangerous?" And he's like, "What do you mean those guys? Like, I'm that." And so
I'm those guys.
I thought it was funny to see that sort of their relationship sort of continue to devolve, and you start to see Jace's sort of his own. I wouldn't call it naivete. It's more like he's doesn't understand where the Undercity people are coming from, right? He has never had
He's just
to
showing
face
the
it.
disconnect, right?
Yeah,
like he really is putting the disconnect on display between the topsiders and the undersiders. Yeah. So like, and it was already there, but now it's like fully just very much so apparent with that scene.
Yeah. And you know, Jace is like going, you know, to be fair to Jace, he's getting more and more responsibility thrust into him. And there's just so much like politics and this other stuff that he's juggling, and he feels really lost. And there's a scene that I really loved where Victor is taking apart Jinx's grenades, and you know, Jace is just going on about like, I can't like do these things and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, my hands are tied here, and Victor's like, Victor accidentally hits something and like the thing is about to explode, and he looks at it, and there's this kind of funny pause that happens, and then he finally you know, undoes the bomb, and he says there's always a choice. And so it's kind of interesting again to see like Jason Victor's relationship started from the fact that like they were these brilliant inventors who could actively make the world better with their inventions. They were the cause of that. And suddenly now Jason's in a place where he feels like because of all this other stuff, he can't do it. And Victor's like,
the one thing he set out to do.
Yeah. And so Victor is kind of waving his finger at him and being like, you're choosing to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a really cool moment for
Ray agrees.
I thought it was a really cool moment for both Victor and Jason to sort of see their ideologies at play.
Yeah.
And then I guess this also episode we get to see more of Jinx's sort of disconnect with reality. We see her sort of like schizophrenia like pop up with dead Milo and stuff. And
Jinx is like really now just, I think, at her limit.
Yeah.
I mean, she was already headed that way, but now more so than ever.
And we get to see more of the Jinx Silco relationship too. Like
so sweet.
Which is
confusing.
Well, in episode 7, it was very confusing because there's that one point where Jinx is helping him with his like eye thing. And she's just like pricking him all over the place. Yeah. She reminds me of those doctors who are drawing blood from you and can't find the vein, and so they stick you a bunch of times. Like that's like basically
I don't know, maybe.
Like there's clearly a line here, doctor. Just get that one. Actually, I've never had that problem because I'm pretty veiny, but I know there are people who like get stabbed a bunch by the syringe.
I'm so glad I never had that happen. That sounds terrifying. Yeah. Oops. I would never want to hear anybody that's drawing blood from me go, oops, hold on. I never want to hear that. Redo.
So anyways, like it's funny because Silco has so much patience for Jinx in a way that he does not show that to anyone else. And he really believes in Jinx as his family, which is like very interesting because Silco,
as messed up as he is.
Yeah, he like still has this like very big soft side for Jinx. And we see that there. And especially when he discovers Jinx on the bridge and he's like, oh no, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And it's time to save Jinx.
And in that same episode is when I believe he goes to the statue, right? Or is that when he goes to Vander's statue?
That's later. That's
later. Is that later? Okay. So, cause like,
that's episode 9, I believe.
That's episode 9. All right. Well, regardless, like, I mean, that shows you that, once again, Silco has a vulnerable spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great to see, because at the end of it all, as much as you don't know about Silco, other than he's like a badass and like a villain, it was nice to finally see in this arc in Act 3, you get to see more of who Silco's like soft side is, right? Yeah. And that was endearing. I really like that.
I think for me too, with Silco, what makes him so captivating as a villain is that he is a villain in that he is willing to do whatever it takes to win. And that means destroying like his own people's lives. Yeah. But he sees it as a greater good, right? And you can start seeing like where he feels that greater good lies in. And I think that's what makes him so interesting, in that like he knows that this is a way for the betterment of his people, even if in the short term it sucks. But in his mind, he's like, "Oh, it's always been worse than this." So.
Yeah, like for him, it's like, well, we're not breathing, poisonous air today, so I guess, but did we die?
Good day, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going through and like, oh, you're a dead kid. Well, at least we're not choking on mustard gas or whatever.
Right? We died every day.
So yeah, and his episode 7 was, I thought, really cool. It kind of sets up a lot of the sort of tensions that are underlying everything, and bringing back Echo, which was awesome, and again cementing Silco as this very interesting character. And that will move into episode 8, which is called Oil and Water, which obviously they're talking about the Undersiders and the Topsiders and their sort of incompatibility with each other.
And that is, as we talked about it, like that is very appropriately named, because when you think about what happens a lot in this episode, I mean, well, right off the bat though, right, what you see is Singed working on Jinx, right?
Yeah.
Because like at this point, Jinx had just gotten like blown up on the bridge. Mm-hmm. Silco is like freaking out, trying to just make sure that, get her back, bring her to life. I need Jinx, right? And so like that was cool. Once again, we get to see more of that fatherhood that is Silco and Jinx.
Yeah.
But then like outside of that, right, you get into like Medarda, right? And that's when you really see the title kind of come into play here. Her mom comes in. Well, I mean, we call her Dami Mommy now. That's for sure. Because dude, those biceps are like, crush me.
She could crush your head like a watermelon in those biceps.
Please. Legitimately though, that's when
I don't know if you're femboy enough for her.
That's probably the only thing that sucks. I need to be more femboy for her.
Because she has a type, I think.
She did. Immediately, she knew what she wanted when she got there. Though. She's like, yeah.
The local cuisine, as she calls it.
That was great. That was great.
Dude, Medarda's mom's is a riot. She's very interesting.
She's badass.
You could really see how Medarda became who she is.
Yeah. And then you see how just like they're so different. Yeah. And that's a lot of why the title, I think, as we, go through this episode, you'll realize how different the people are from like Medarda, her mom, are just not the same.
You thought Asian parenting was hard? Well, Noxian parenting.
Buff Noxian mom parenting. Oh man. Like holy cow. Like, well, first off, that was pretty major, because that was also like, I believe, the first time we all saw anything noxious.
Yeah.
Now, for Xell, I was like, oh, well, I think that's the Noxious tribe. And to me, they're like, oh, that's the burn deck from Runeterra. So like, that's my knowledge of that. So.
No. And yeah, again, Oil and Water, right? Like Medarda, her mom. We have also Kate and Vi as being two sort of opposing forces here. Cause like, this is it's funny because there's a really intimate episode where they're in Caitlyn's bedroom and Vi's like, oh my God, wow.
Just spilling her life.
Yeah. Right? She's talking about her memories with Powder and, they just have like a really touching moment. But it kind of all comes to a head when they go and appeal their case to the counselors. and the counselors are unwilling to move. And
Right.
and it's so
They're still trying to talk to Silco.
yeah,
right?
yeah. Again,
So-
diplomacy, and like Vi's like, what are you doing? And again, it's kind of funny. It's a parallel to Victor and Jace, where one side just feels like, oh, there's all this stuff that we need to do this properly, yada yada yada, and one side's just like, no, you gotta just go and do it.
It's time to make our own like luck, and yeah, like that was a lot of the argument. And Vi, clearly a punch first kind of and then ask questions later kind of person, was upset with that. But through that, like then the falling out happened, and with Caitlyn's mom being on the council, right?
Yeah.
Like that showed right there, like when they're arguing on the bridge, that water and oil, right? Like
they come from very different places, and they have very different ideologies. And I think what's really cool about this episode is the sort of real life parallels there too, where like I think when we have real life problems, like really big, racism in the United States, and like LGBT, like all the oppressed minorities that exist and whatever, like these problems are why we like to talk about them in these sort of like lofty idealisms and this stuff, but idealisms don't help what's actually happening, right?
Right.
And like I think that's one of the cool things I think about this episode is it really highlights how real these problems feel, because like we would ideally want to like just have diplomacy, we figure it out, and we kumbaya, but that's not.
But sometimes you you just gotta march down there and make something happen, right? Because diplomacy is here it doesn't work, right? It hasn't worked. The peaceful way of past hasn't worked, and then so that's why Vi is just furious, right? And so just like real world applications, right? So I think this episode it was heartbreaking because they just had that heart to heart moment, right? Caitlyn and Vi, sharing like that personal moment with Vi. And like Caitlyn brushes her hand across Vi's face. It's like, this is the episode. Yeah, they're gonna be a couple now. And then this happens, and it's just like Vi's like, look, just forget about me. We're not the same, and we will never be the same. Yeah, and that was a bit of a heartbreaker. And then with that, we also got to see, I didn't think I'd get to see it, but I'm glad we got to see it this season, because if you remember. From the last episode, I felt like a lot of this, like the next 3 episodes would just do a lot of setting up for season 2. So I probably wouldn't get to see this, but it was cool to have Vi team up with Jace.
Yes. Yeah. And so, the story comes up to a head where people are sick of sitting on the sidelines. Jace, one of them,
Jace.
And so I love when Jace goes home, by the way, and he's talking to his mom, and it just goes to a foreground element, and it's his like little drawing of a superhero Jace, and like that's who he has. He's like, I never wanted to do this, Sensei. Forgive me, I must go all out as my childhood character hero thing. But no, it was so cool to see them one break free from all the politics, break free from all the red tape. Let's get this shit going, right?
Right.
And so they go and they assault, one of the
Silco's
shimmer
shimmer
factories.
plants or something.
And we got to see Jace with his hammer and Vi with the gauntlets. And as a League of Legends fan, I just lost it, man. It was so cool.
I can confirm he did lose it. We were watching that together, and all I could hear was Xell just like shaking and just like pretty much sounded like he was imploding.
Yeah. It was so cool. We finally got to see, as a League of Legends fan, and like we saw, okay, cool. Like we're seeing their backstory, but now we get to like see them actually like become the people who we know them as, and they're so badass. They're so cool.
And even if you don't know what that was just badass, right?
Yeah,
like
true.
for me,
Also
like
true.
I know them a little bit only because like Vi was in Runeterra, so but otherwise, like holy crap, I didn't know Jace had a hammer, so I don't know anything about Jace, but. Holy cow, when I saw that Vi finally got the gauntlets on, and because it's been foreshadowed this whole time, and like it was just so exciting to watch that fight.
Yeah.
That fight was just
against like the shimmer.
Yeah, the shimmered out mutant, like, I don't know, Raynars, I don't know, whatever they are.
You know what they remind me of? You know the Magic set Unhinged,
Yeah.
the most recent unset.
Yeah, I think yeah.
There's a red card called like Brain Guy or whatever, and they have that like green helmet. They look like the Mars from Mars Attack.
Oh, the Martians?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like the shimmer dudes kind of reminded me of that.
With a purple tint.
But they were cooler.
Yeah, but they were cooler also. And, yeah. No, I thought that fight was sick, dude.
That was so sick.
And like watching, but at the same time, it goes on this high flying, awesome fight scene, and then it ends on this huge bummer. Jace kind of accidentally just obliterates like a 5-year-old child. So like he's just straight Shadowrun's a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, everyone's like super pumped. And then you're just like, oh no. Oh, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, he works. The little kid worked at a shimmer plant, for Silco. But like, then this is where you see Jace is still like, holy cow, he's taking action. And now I was worried because he's finally taken action. And the first thing that happens, or I guess not the first, but the last thing that happens is he like kills like a kid.
Yeah.
I was worried this was going to send Jace into a downward spiral where he never does anything again.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was refreshing to also see him like deal with that remorse of killing a kid and whatnot. And like, that's where you see Vi and Jace kind of like break up, right? Like essentially like fall apart there. They're ally.
Yeah.
Jace was like, hey, give me back my gauntlets.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was really cool, by the way.
I think like the big learning lesson for Jace there was just how ugly war really is, right? And like
He'd never...
I mean, again, he's just this pretty boy from the top side.
Yeah.
He's never seen what it's like to get his hands dirty. He's never seen, the way like Caitlyn had and like saw what Shimmer does to people and like how gross it can get. And, with Jace accidentally killing a kid, he's like, oh shit, like this is what war really looks like. And
there's more, right? Like, and Vi points that out, like, it's like, oh, you're sad about one little kid.
Yeah.
This is literally every day, tens, thousands, hundreds of kids, whatever, right? Like they're dying all the time. So that was like a good wake up moment for Jace.
Yeah.
And also that was one hell of an episode 8 to have that happen.
Yeah.
So that kind of like segues into the next episode, which episode 9, like, holy cow. This was a pretty sweet episode. Right?
I love this episode a ton. We one of the early scenes is something that we hadn't mentioned was actually like Victor's arc in this.
Yeah.
And Victor in previous episodes here, he is working he worked out a thing with Singe. He gets the vial and he attempts to transform himself with the hex core, which he does successfully.
Right.
He fixes his leg, and there's that scene where he's running and he's like a new man kind of, and he attempts to push it further and further. And poor Sky, his assistant, gets wrapped up in one of the trials and gets vaporized.
Like, just actually turned to dust. Like, she is no longer there. And I feel so bad because the context is that she's on her way to ask him essentially to go on a date again, or like, hey, can I walk with you again? Or I just want to talk to you, right?
And how he inspires her and this other
but then
stuff.
she's like, everything you do inspires me. Like, oh, that's sweet. And then she gets dusted, dude. She straight gets dusted, and I feel so bad for her.
Yeah, and also this drives Victor into a corner, really, because this whole time Victor has sort of taken this stance of like, I am doing everything I can for the world, and like he has this sort of like lofty idealism about like where his engineering can take him, and to see it kind of blow up and kill somebody close to him like that, like sends him into a really dark place.
I find this kind of unfortunate for him because like it's like one of the few times I feel like Victor truly does something for himself.
Yeah.
And like when he finally does something for himself, what happens?
He kills his assistant.
His assistant gets dusted, and
Thanos
it's just
snapped.
Gets Thanos out of here. And I just feel bad for him because it's like, dude, this guy only takes L's.
Victor has
between Jace and Victor, he's the one that took the L out of both of them, right? Like Victor is seen as like the lackey, the sidekick, right? Yeah. And then Jace gets all the fame, the politician life, and moves on up.
Yeah.
But then here's Victor from the underside, and that's just him. That he's Victor the underside, Jace's sidekick.
Yeah. And he's always in the shadows. And he was Heimerdinger's assistant, and now he's Jace's assistant. And
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And
yeah.
and that made me feel for him. Like he is just constantly just taking L's.
And that leads to that scene where he is looking over the precipice of that waterfall that he sort of grew up next to.
Right.
And he pours out the ashes. You know, and he was like musing to himself. And he's like, I don't even know if this is where you'd want to be, you know?
Right. And that was so sad. And then like, you know, like this, and that's a little bit after you can see it's like, well, he's contemplating. You're like, well, what if just end it here, right?
End it here, yeah.
And that was when we got the big change up, right? Like it was like an interesting scene for me to watch because like then Jace comes in, right? Perfectly to intervene. Like, oh, am I interrupting? And it's like, oh, how the roles have changed. You know, like Victor saved Jace.
Yeah.
And now he's here, right? Like I feel so bad for Victor. I just want that guy to like get, you know what I mean? I just want him to win.
Victor, yeah.
Why does Victor just lose all the time?
Yeah, and I hope the best for our boy Victor.
Well, season 2.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that a little bit because right after that scene happens, we find out that like Jace and Silco actually get in touch with each other, and you know that diplomacy that they were talking about finally actually does come to a thing where Jace offers Silco a diplomatic solution here.
Right.
And the thing is that Silco comes back and he's like, well, I want the universe. You got to give me all this.
Everything that has been done by Silco he's essentially asking to get pardoned.
Yeah. Pardoned, access to Piltover's hex gates.
Yeah.
They also want sovereignty. Like,
yeah,
they're really asking for it all here. And Jace recognizes that. And it's funny because they have this political discussion.
Yeah. And this is one of the best scenes, if not like my favorite scene of the entire show.
Yeah. And it's funny because Silco is bartering with Jace and Jace comes back with the offer being like, you're gonna ask for all of this? Are you crazy?
Yeah. and Silco, that's where Silco cemented himself as like I thought he had like the most silver tongue of them all, right? Like, and because he goes, well, after your very prominent display of power attacking my factory, immediately the day after you come here and you try to like get diplomatic with me. Yeah, that tells me you're desperate. So, and I'm just like,
you showed me your hand.
Oh, Silco, I love you, dude. But then
the reversal happened. I reversed Uno'd again because Jace comes back and he's like, oh no, this is not how it's gonna go, my friend.
I'm here for you because I'm saving you from them, right? So, and then it's just like, oh my God, this is like Jace's like growth, right? As a character, from the I don't know what I want, I don't know what I should do, to I know where I need to be, I know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And it's super duper solid watching Jace grow.
Yes.
I mean, like I was really happy to see that he wasn't just going to be this like, you know, the Takamichi all the way through, right? Like,
yeah, where he just never grows up.
Yeah, he just never grows up, he never learns anything, and he just kind of stays the same until he either A, gets voted off the council or dies, right? So like, yeah, like that was just really cool to see him and do all of that. And also yet still see Silco be that silver-tongued badass that I love.
One of the big important plot points here, though, is that Jace says that he can offer these things in exchange for Jinx.
Yeah.
And that's going to come big because there's this really dope scene later on where Silco's in front of Vander's statue.
That's the one I was talking about. Yep.
And he's musing to himself loud where he's talking to, you know, Vander in his head. And he's saying like, you know, we're here. We're at the place where we want to be. And I've got everything in my grasp. But the thing that I have to give up is my family.
Yeah. And now it's like, yo, Silco, you kind of get to see what Vander like was about, right? And I think that's like kind of an interesting place. And makes me wonder, like at that point, I was like, does Silco get a redemption arc? like that's what because you know, at the same time, he did have a pretty miserable life. Yeah, he did some messed up things, but like, I mean, at the way they were pacing, I was like, is there a redemption arc for Silco, or does he go? Like,
yeah, and you you see that soft side. However, what happens on the back of that is the fact that Jinx had heard this all, right?
Right. Jinx is right behind the Vander statue, and like, oh man. And like the last thing he says, I think, is like, oh, nothing more undoing than your daughter, right?
yeah.
Like, and then it's just like, oh no. Oh no. And then like Jinx has already got some severe trust issues, right?
Oh yeah.
So
and that's been like a recurring theme, I think, over and over, is like Jinx really losing it when people lie to her and are dishonest with her.
Well, she just wants people to be somebody to be honest with her, right? Somebody to be real with her, because like, look at her whole life. When we were watching this, right? Because we didn't fully touch up on it, but like when Jinx got like experimented on with that shimmer injection, like it was painful.
It was gross.
Excruciating pain. And you know, you just think about like what Jinx's life was like, and it's like, dude,
speaking of people who always take L's.
yeah, like she's taken so many L's, and you know, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Holy crap. And that's when like it really, really, you know, was just kind of like, I felt for Jinx, and I now understand where she's going and where she's been, and like, you know, like understand how she's the person she is.
Yeah. A couple other fun little things that happen here. Heimerdinger is wandering through the Undercity, and he meets up with Echo, and
nobody likes him.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that guy.
No, that's the new hit sitcom called Everybody Hates Heimerdinger.
Yeah, everybody hates Heimerdinger.
Except Echo, who like meets Heimerdinger, and they sort of bond a little bit.
Yeah.
It seems like a new beginning for like a kind of like a teacher-student relationship happening there, which
planting
I think is cool.
another seed. Like again, like I've been wanting to see more Heimerdinger, because I mean, like all the Yordles are the main things that I like about League of Legends. Like every Yordle I've seen, I was always like, that's cool. Okay, so like I'm sad that finally I get to see Yordle action. I don't know what that means.
Just likes Yordles, you say.
Yordles are adorable, dude. Mm-hmm. Like I used to just build, like on TFT, I would build an all Yordle team and stuff like that. I'd lose a lot, but like whatever. Like, but the point here is
can't tell if you're into furries or short people.
Maybe I'm just a furry short dude. You ever think about that? Like, what if I'm actually just a furry short dude?
Look, man, it's 2021. You know, like no shame in that.
I'm just happy though that Heimerdinger got some love. I'm sad that it happened on like the last episode.
Yeah, I wish we got to see a little more of Heimerdinger, TBH, because like
and Yordles.
Well, yeah, sure. On the the Yordles that we did saw besides Heimerdinger were a little spicy. We got the
we ignore those Yordles.
The BDSM Yordle. We got the brothel lady.
You see, Yordles just know how to have a better time. Okay, so the thing here is, I want more Yordles. I finally got it at the last episode, but it was with Echo, and it was very cool to see. And you know, I'm just kind of sad that like everybody hates like Heimerdinger. It's so when he got
puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, when he got ousted, dude, I felt bad. I was just like, no, wait, hold on. He was kidding. Come here, Heimerdinger. I got you, buddy. Yeah. But yeah, like so now that's a whole new arc, right? I mean, they're planting more seeds than they're answering right now.
I mean, I already knew this going into the final act, that like there's no way they can wrap everything up. And so episode 9 was more confirmation of that, obviously. And then seeing again, they're sowing more seeds here that will blossom in later than 2022.
Okay. And it's not like you just go, I'll read the manga or something, right? Like we gotta wait. I can't play League of Legends, and on top of that, I can't play League of Legends to resolve this story.
Nope. We're all waiting.
Those are two separate things. My ability to play, and then also to get the
but yeah, so anyways, we also get to finally see the rubber match between Vi and Savika. Savika being Silco's bodyguard.
Yeah.
That was a dope, cool scene. But besides that, we get to see, I think, what is the most important scene of all of episode 9, which is the dinner party.
This is the best. This is the whole, like, this episode. This is the scene for like I really like the politics scene. That was like probably my favorite scene, but then it would be this right after.
This was like the culmination of all of Vi and Jinx's sort of story arc here. and she has captured basically all the different pieces, right?
Yep.
She's captured Silco. He's sitting in a chair. She's captured Vi. She's sitting there, and she kind of just talks about like how these people have betrayed her and lied to her, and really, and I thought it was really poetic that she puts 2 empty chairs in, one that says Powder and one that says Jinx, and she's telling Vi like, you choose for me who I become. Am I Powder or am I Jinx? And it was just it's this wrenching moment too, because like at this point too, Vi has grown up quite a bit from where she was at before, and she also understands too that like where Jinx is at isn't Powder. She is not that same person anymore. And as much as she wants to go back to her being Powder and stuff, she knows like this is a tough place. And I thought the introduction of Caitlyn there was also just fantastic.
So I didn't know Caitlyn was a character. So like when I was like watching, like no way. Are they putting her head on a platter right now? This is like some horror movie stuff. I'm here for this. And then she drops the plate. She's like, I'm not that crazy. I'm like, I seriously thought that was going to be Caitlyn's like limb or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe her head, but okay. It's fine. It was actually just the orb or whatever, the little gem. But then she brings the whole cast out. And I think that scene was just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly just because Vi still has not really, like, it's kind of sad because Vi says that I'll be there for you. Vi says all these things. But realistically, she's there for Powder.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't accepted Jinx. And I feel like I know that she wants that little sister back that is Powder, but in that scene, I was curious because it's not like Jinx isn't her sister anymore. And she's treated as if Jinx is this whole separate entity and it's not her sister. But they're one and the same, right? And Vi needs to understand that. And that's why I like this scene so much.
The way I interpreted it was like Jinx is Vi's sister through and through. But it's weird. It's again the sort of fight between practicality and ideology and like idealism, because idealistically, she gets to protect Jinx as her sister above all else. Except Jinx really is pushing the line of being worth protecting.
Straight up a terrorist.
Yeah,
she is straight up a terrorist.
Straight up a terrorist. She's murdered a lot of people. She's it caused havoc across both Undercity and Topside.
Right.
But Vi again cannot turn her back on Jinx, and that's like this.
But in
dichotomy.
a way, she has. Right? Because like the thing here is like I feel like at this point now, she is in denial, right? And is not accepting who Jinx is.
I think she's trying to see past it, and she just, I think for me, it was just like the inner turmoil of like Jinx is her sister no matter what. But how do you continue to protect this person who everyone is gunning after, right? And I thought that was like very specifically portrayed when Caitlyn breaks free of her chains and points a gun, Jinx's minigun back at her. And Vi's trying to figure out what to do here. And she's so conflicted because she understands that like Caitlyn has a very much a good reason to want to kill Jinx. Very good reason. But at the same time, Jinx is still Vi's sister, and Vi can't let that go either.
Yeah. And I it's rough, right? It's obviously a tough spot to be in, but like, I don't know. Like at some point, Vi, you got to wake up and understand that.
You just don't understand Vin Diesel then.
Okay. Yo, you're right. You know what? Vin Diesel did say it best though. Fam, you never turn your back on family.
And that's how Vi lives, And what's funny too is on the opposite side of the table, same with Silco, which is kind of interesting, right?
But Silco is the one that actually I feel like is the most accepting and understanding, right? Like in a weird way, it's like, yo, Silco's like kind of dad of the year, I guess. But like,
what the?
Like kind of, I guess. But like, okay, maybe dad of the year is ambitious, but the thing here is, Silco on the other side, will love Jinx no matter. Mm-hmm. Like, and he's made that apparent here, right? And that's why the next scene that happens is just so moving to me. And it's that like, so, as Jinx is sitting there dealing with all of her internal voices and demons and all that stuff, you know, like Silco's about to grab this weapon, right? And then immediately Jinx flips around with her gun, sprays across the room, and just kills Silco. But in that moment, Silco then says, with 30 holes in his chest, he's like, I was never going to trade you in. This is obviously not word for word, but I was never going to trade you in. I was never going to give you to them, not for anything.
Yeah.
And essentially just says, don't change. You're perfect.
Yeah.
And when he said you're perfect and then died, I was like, I love you. like dad of the year. Like he's okay. Okay, maybe not, but like that was a beautiful moment.
It was, yeah.
He was the only one that accepted Jinx out of everybody.
That's true. And I think I think Vi is still holding on a bit of trying too hard to hold on to Powder and not accept. And so in that way, Silco again, is really the one who is accepting who she actually is, who she is now in the present, right? And that's interesting because like Silco never met Powder, essentially, right? And so, like, so he doesn't have the burden of like what Powder is in the back of his mind. Not that he necessarily would as a character, but like for Vi, that's the thing that she's still struggling to come to terms with is like who Jinx is now and the Powder that she was before. And I think most poetically is when Jinx turns around after that scene with Silco, and Silco says that she's perfect. She sits down in the Jinx chair, right, and she says like, you know, I thought you could love me the way you did back when I was Powder. And she realized like just time changes us. We've all changed here.
Right.
Why? You've changed. I've changed. We're not the same people who we were back then. And it was just like such a poetic statement, and that really encapsulates sort of the entirety of the season 1, which was about transformation, right? About people who transform people who couldn't let themselves transform. We had Vander who couldn't let himself, be someone different. Silco who could not be someone different. But for, Jace, for Victor, for Vi, for Jinx, they've all transformed so much from who they were. And I thought her little speech there was so poetic to the whole theme of season 1. And I thought that's what really nailed in that episode for me.
Is it weird that maybe Jinx might be the most reasonable and logical person of this whole?
That's tough, but I don't know, man. That's a tough one because like Jinx is sort of independent of all the political stuff, right? She's sort of out there just trying to solve her own issue, really. You know what I mean? Like she's on her own prerogative of wanting to feel like loved by people, and I think this was the time when she really realized like I don't think that's gonna happen.
Or I saw it as like more of like her just going, I don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Is like she's kind of transcended it.
Yeah, like I think that's great. That makes
scary for everyone else.
It's scary for everyone else. I'll admit, like like I just feel kind of weird that like of all of them, like when the decisions had to be made, she made them. She did it. Like and whether the results ended up great or not, like that's the big question mark. But she pulled the trigger when she needed to. Yeah,
in terms of morality, there's no way I can say that she's right.
Right.
Like I think Jinx's character just in general just encapsulates tragedy in just such a sad way. Like when I see Jinx and who she's become, you understand the transformation that she's gone through because she had to. Yeah. She had to transform that way in order to survive, but it's just so sad.
It really is. And like just to see that, like that final scene at that dinner table.
Yeah.
Oh man. And again, right? In that moment, she was very much so off the rocker there when like at the end when she takes the big bazooka and just like blows up the Capitol essentially, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, holy crap, dude. Jinx is a badass.
She's such a badass. And it was so funny because also in terms of the way Jinx has evolved over the season 1 too, is like as a League player, I know that she has these different weapons. She has her chompers, which are her like grenade things. She has her minigun. I forgot the name of the minigun. And then she has Zap, which is her like pistol blaster. And then her final one is
Valorant.
Pow Pow. Oh yeah, Valorant's good. And then the last is Pow Pow, which we finally get to see in this last moment, and she uses her ulti, Super Mega Death Rocket, and I was
that's the rocket launcher.
that's the rocket launcher,
Okay.
and I was losing it at that point, and it was just sort of this, on the cusp of this diplomatic solution that was offered to Silco.
Yeah,
we see Jinx, the agent of chaos, throw it all back,
Which, by the way, now the person they were making the deal with is dead.
Yup.
And on top of that, so like, okay, with her ulting essentially on the capital there, now we have to ask the question, like, so like, I gotta ask, what do you think happens next, right? Because like this is perfect, right? Sure, Jace probably gets shielded by Victor or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So like Jace and Victor, I think they'll make it out. But then the rest of them, they're all gonna die. And with one of them being Medarda, which would then bring in Medarda's mom and the Noxian like legions, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is how the next war starts. So and as I recalled from like the last episode, I knew like from the last episode of our podcast, as I was saying, they're gonna do a lot of building up, and like with potential another legion coming in, they're gonna build into a great war. Nothing's gonna get resolved, and it's gonna go into a season 2, right? But as weird as it sounds, this whole show, this whole last episode, did a lot of planting of the seeds, a lot of like planning for the future stuff. But in the weirdest way, it was a very good conclusion.
Yeah.
So it resolved only one thing, really.
Which is Silco.
Yeah.
This whole season was really the passing of the torch from Silco and Bounder's, era into this new one.
How much of this is like really Silco's like hero's journey? No,
calling it a hero's journey is pushing it. I would say villain's journey.
Okay, fine, a villain's journey.
My Villain Academia.
Yeah,
okay. I think that's where it is. And the thing is, like, yeah, I think this was that was it. I mean, the passing of the torch, right?
Right.
Where we see finally the old generation now is gone, and honestly, with Jinx's rocket, that for both sides, right? Like for both Piltover. Like if the whole council dies, the old fan oligarchs of Piltover might be dead now.
Caitlyn's mom's probably dead.
Yeah,
like all of them are dead.
And similarly, Zaun has lost their leader, and it's going to be interesting to see who picks up the pieces, because it feels like very much we're in a position where Medarda's mom's going to get involved. Noxus is going to get involved.
There's no way Medarda's mom isn't going to try to get revenge on Jinx, right? Because now the world, or at least currently the world as we know it, has a target for Jinx.
And she wanted this war to happen in the first place anyways. Like Noxus, they want the war to happen so that better weapons get developed and that they get to cherry pick them, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, I've got a feeling, Caitlyn, with her strong sense of justice, she's not going to sit by here. She is hell-bent now on defeating Jinx. And then on top of that, we're going to have Vi trying to defend Jinx from Caitlyn, but at the same time, like, not really being able to. Like, it's going to get messy. And I think there's going to be a couple of characters that I'm interested to see if they step up or not. And I think one of them in particular will be Heimerdinger, who will probably be sort of the Yoda, of Revenge of the Jedi,
dude,
right?
Just because he's short, dude? Is that what's going on here? Is that what's going on here?
I mean, come on, he kind of is. Maybe Echo's not Han Solo. He's Luke Skywalker, and like,
why can't a Yordle be Luke Skywalker? Okay. I want the Yordle to be the main character.
Well,
okay?
he's helping out Echo, so I don't know what to tell you. So we've got that. We've got Jinx, who I don't know who Jinx is in the Star Wars metaphor. I really don't.
Jinx at this point now is just whatever. Jinx is her own
Kylo
thing.
Ren.
like maybe, I guess that's the closest.
Kind of. But like, I'm interested to see Heimerdinger. I'm interested in Singed, who I think has a big role to play coming up, because like Shimmer hasn't gone anywhere as long as Singed is alive. So I wonder if now Singed will get more into it. And then with that, like maybe Victor will see a bigger role in the actual war. Cause like I think Victor is going to get into a place where he realizes, well, we're well past the time where my inventions are going to help people if people won't stop dying in the war, right?
Right.
So I'm curious.
I think my thing here is I think it's going to be Heimerdinger that brings them back to like, because you had mentioned that in the future or whatever, at whatever point in the game of League, Hex Tech is like the whole civilization is advanced at that point now and adapted in Hex Tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Heimerdinger is the reason why that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to ask for in season 2. I'm excited to see more of like, you know, like the other worlds, other nations and stuff like that. But most importantly, I really want to see just what outside of like Heimerdinger and what he's up to, I want to see what becomes of Vi and Jinx. Like, I feel like this is the one thing that I just dislike that I have to wait till like potentially 2023 for. I didn't get I feel like I did not get a resolution on that, right? Like, I'm like, this is the most massive blue balls ever.
So I'm going to tell you some stuff as a League player, right?
Okay.
So currently, as we know, Jinx and Vi relationship has not been fixed. There will be no fix. Like in the lore of the game, Vi has teamed up with Caitlyn in order to capture Jinx and to bring her to not being a terrorist. But Caitlyn, who actually wants to kill her, whereas Vi just wants to like save her sister, right? So that's like the current. I mean, there's no story in League of Legends, but that's like where the lore is at with those two.
Right.
Now the big one, and this is going to be maybe potentially spoilery, is Victor. Victor in League of Legends is fully robotic. And he is like, and they've actually hinted at sort of the stuff that will lead him into becoming Victor. And one of them was Victor's signature weapon is this hand claw cannon with a laser attachment. And that's one of the inventions that he shows Heimerdinger very early on. And so seeing that he's slowly transforming into metal.
And what's that thing that he wraps himself in? Like, it's like this brace or something?
Corset
Like, it's a corset thing?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think he's going to get further and further into this sort of like hex core like thing, and that's going to drive a wedge between him and Jason in the lore of the game. And there's no guarantee that they're going to do this, but they create AI Blitzcrank, and
that's this guy,
and it causes a rift between Jason and Victor. And so Jason and Victor are now like mortal enemies, and they feel wronged by each other. And I wonder if that rift might also begin with Heimerdinger becoming more militant too, because in the game, Heimerdinger makes turrets and grenades and all sorts of things. And so like,
I knew I loved that guy. I knew I loved that guy.
He's like, yeah. So like, I wonder if Heimerdinger will team up with Jace to try to thwart Victor's threat of hex core and like his like glorious evolution that he wants. And as far as Jinx, Vi, and Caitlyn is concerned, like I don't know. Like I'd be very curious if they do come up with a final resolution and if they can make that pay off.
I mean, I guess that'll.
Like, do you think they can kill characters in Arcane? Do you think like they could kill champions?
I hope they do, because the thing here is they say that this is not always going to be 100% canon. What happens in Arcane?
Arcane is canon-ish.
Yeah. So because like the thing is, if you don't, then there's no stakes, right?
Yeah.
Like you know that no matter what, these characters will somehow like Breaking Bad write themselves out of this, right?
That's going to be a big moment when they finally kill a champion. Like that's a bridge you will never cross back on.
But and I hope that they do though, right? Because like there's no timeline where every one of these characters gets to live.
What if Jinx just like, you know,
Jinx is gonna be. If I'm gonna say anybody's gonna die, it's gonna be Jinx.
What if Jinx and Vi happily ever after, and you know Vi and Caitlyn run off, get married, and you know,
and then gets blown up by their terrorist little. No, that's not gonna happen. If there's a character that's gonna die, it's gotta be, because first off, Jinx. Like if they want to continue with Arcane and the world, they have to kill off Jinx. There is nowhere to go for Jinx in the end of all this but to die.
Yeah.
Or like whatever, Riker's prison, like, you know, like the Arkham Asylum, whatever, you know, some pretty much a black hole for all their villains until they need it later, right? But like that's where Jinx is gonna have to end up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're probably right. I'm just sad.
Oh, and also I'm gonna be really sad if they do actually go with the prison instead of killing somebody off. Because
I don't think if Jinx dies, Vi's dead too. That's the only way.
Fair.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, those two can go. Like, I mean, I don't want them to. I don't want them to, but like they have to. Somebody has to die, dude. Like nobody died in the main cast, and I'm like, look. I might be spoiled from recent television. I'm used to just everybody flying off the shelves here, but no one died. Except for my favorite Silco. Yeah, like, and it's like, why do my toys get blown up? Well, somebody else's up.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm curious if they will make that happen, because I think it would be a big moment to actually kill off a champion, and I wonder if people will be happy or sad about that. Like overall, the other thing that was kind of on my mind too is if they ever start trying to approach other character stories within the game, and like especially now with the introduction of Noxians, that also puts up all the people that Noxus fights, which is basically everybody else.
Oh wow, so Madar's mom's really not liked by a lot of people.
No, because like Demacia and Noxus have been at war since forever. Noxus is also like militantly breaking down the force of Ionia, which makes Ionia hate them. Zed, Shen, Irelia, like all the basically Asian people.
Okay.
Ionia is just like New Asia, I guess.
Okay, well, I mean, no wonder why I liked Ionia. Wait, hold on. What about, where do the Broken Isles or Shattered Isles fit into this?
Well, so
because I like their characters. They're very edgelordy for me.
I assume Shadow Isles will get involved when Arcane eventually gets into the anime endgame, when they have to defeat death itself.
Okay, the natural progression. You have to fight God.
Yeah, and that's when you will bring Mount Olympus, or League's version of Mount Olympus, where Pantheon and Aurelion Soul, like the Astral Dragon, starts getting involved. When we get to world-ending conflicts, we'll see Shadow Isles.
Yeah. All right. That's a very dude. I have to wait 2 years to see the next part. That's gonna be like, am I even gonna see that in my lifetime? Oh my
dude, like the thing is that because there's so many stories I want told, I do wonder if Arcane, like I almost wish they could go with like a less expensive route, something that still looks beautiful or whatever, but like expanded in a way that they can tell more stories. Because honestly, I think at this point, everybody is just clamoring for more Arcane, more of whatever they've got cooking up there, because this was so beautifully done, and it'd be like a shame not to get more stories told like this. Because like honestly, I love Jinx and Vi and all that, but like I don't know. Actually, maybe Twitch shows up. I love Twitch. He's from Zon, so he could still show up. Yeah.
Okay.
But like
I don't know who Twitch is.
Oh, he's this poisonous rat.
.tv.
No, not really. He's this poisonous rat dude, and he's awesome and cute. And
wait, you can get him in TFT, right?
Oh yeah, I think he's been in a couple TFT sets.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, see, like I love that I know every character from games that are not League of Legends.
He was a 4-cost in set 4.
That sounds about right.
No,
that sounds about right. And like Aurelion Soul's the dragon.
He was the OP one in set 1. He was a 5-cost. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so like, okay. I mean, like I want to see more, but at the same time, like if they go cheaper on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it lose its, that?
I mean, if I'm just toggling the levers, right? Like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I just love the story a lot, and the writing has been superb, and I want that cranked. And the animation, while it's like fantastic and amazing and beautiful, but like, what if it's just like, just a little bit, okay, just to have a little more of, I don't know. I'm being the greedy, like, greedy.
You want more? Maybe we. I don't know.
Somewhere a monkey paw just curled a finger, right? But I don't know. All I can say is, as the consumer of this product, I just love it so much that I just can't wait for more.
I guess before we head out, I guess how has it been performing? Like, I actually don't know. Like, popularity wise, like it's great amongst us in like the gamer sphere, right?
Yeah.
and like but like I don't actually know how well Arcane is doing.
I believe that it trended up to number 2 in all of the United States for Netflix shows. So that's pretty damn good, right? That's pretty damn good. But I also haven't seen like mainstream sort of like reviewers talk about Arcane, which is kind of funny. And I wonder how much of that is just like, well, one, anything animated always has like a little blocker for people.
Right.
But I think Arcane will get the accolades that it, I think, rightly deserves. It just might take some time. I don't know.
Okay. Because I was just curious because like I feel like obviously with the things that I follow and the things that I watch, naturally Arcane would come up. Mm-hmm. But like to the average person that has no idea what League is, right, at all, or video games in general, are they gonna watch this? Has it tested positive with them?
Yeah.
Like natural, like for me, liking the things that are like the themes and whatnot, there's a lot of overlap with what Arcane does and what I like.
Yeah.
So of course I would like be drawn to it. But I'm curious, like if it's a commercial success, because that'll determine how much Riot wants to sink money into this.
And that's the thing is, we know they sunk a lot of money into this, and I think like what's interesting is because the reason why I say that is because I know that this animation was like incredibly expensive. I know for marketing reasons they've spent a lot of money on marketing here. And I don't know what the direct ROI is for an animation, right? Because like I think one of the things that a show like Arcane does for Riot is that people now have an interest in the world of League of Legends, even if you don't play any of the games. And I think that's like a really important thing because then it opens the door for more merchandise stuff. And I don't know. Like, how does Marvel make their money, Well,
Marvel is very much so a commercial success, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like, doesn't matter. Like if it has Marvel, I'll watch it.
I mean, they've got ticket sales, but like merch is probably just ginormous for Marvel, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
toys, shirts, video games.
So, but I think that's the thing that Arcane kind of opens itself up to potentially is like more brand awareness for League of Legends, and therefore now future things have more of a brand tie. Like I know for a fact that like at least Vi and Jinx within the game itself, like people pick them more now. So like there clearly is like a consumer byproduct of Arcane. We just don't know what the true impact of that might be,
I'm very curious to see, like, check back, like, I guess when season 2 airs, like, like, will this be seen as a success to Riot or as a loss?
Yeah, no.
And that's going to be very important for the longevity of like how much they want to sink into this. And yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. Any other closing thoughts on this?
No, I think that's about it. And like, I just want to say that like this was a very good animated show, and just a solid ending. So I hope to see more, and I hope to see more companies take. It obviously took a lot of money, but if other gaming franchises and whatnot could do this for their own series, that'd be really cool, right?
I mean, I don't think it'd be hard to say that this is probably the #1 adaptation from a video game ever.
Yeah.
I really cannot think of any other shows that have really transcended this sort of animation style and stuff that Arcane has done. I haven't really seen any other shows that have as tightly written, like
the Monster Hunter movie. It's got Mila Jovovich.
Can you say that with a straight face?
No, I can't.
But yeah, like I really think this was a transcendent set of series, and I like. Again, it's in the video game space, but like when I look at Reddit, it's so funny to see Arcane references in things that have nothing to do with League of Legends, right? And I see it just everywhere now. Like I saw it in the soccer subreddit that I frequent, and people were talking about Arcane. I was like, "What is happening?" So yeah.
Well, that just shows, like, like if it's slowly starting to get there, then hopefully it'll just become big enough to just kind of be its own IP, and then then we can get more of this.
Yeah. So anyways, thank y'all for listening in to this episode of Niisan Podcast. As always, give us a subscription, like, comment, and all that good stuff.
It increases your credit score. Remember that?
Yep, and Tinder profile engagement.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next episode. I hope you guys liked our new setup, by the way.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even get to mention that.
Yeah, I know. We got brought in a little light thing, and then we have these new mics. So I think hopefully this episode sounds a little better than some of the previous ones that we did. So,
and yeah, thanks so much for watching. And as always, tell everybody about it.
Yeah. Peace out, y'all.
How do we do